welcome everyone. Welcome. Greetings, blessings, honor, glory unto you, Almighty Father. And thanks to everyone for tuning in tonight. It's always a musical journey here at the station, man. But anyways, we're here today and we say just much love and blessings and honor to everyone. Thank you guys and everybody that tuned in last week. Let me get this thing together here. So we're here today, and as you can see the title, I try to make it more relating now, because you know we have a lot to discuss here. So of course it's another Friday, and we're here again each and every Friday. Thanks to you guys, thanks to everybody who support the platform, and for those of you who are just becoming members, our fans, welcome, and do subscribe, do share the information that you're getting here. Do your work, put your you can put your input. And we do have a question already, so we're gonna get into that. As I said, it's a lot of things to talk about. We talk about Bible, and we talk about history. We talk about, we actually discuss everything here. And we're not only talking about relationship and the way people interact, on our history, biblical or whatever history it is, ancient, and we actually uncover basically everything, just the way people live then, now, and within the present moment here. So we're dealing with a whole lot of things here on the platform. So whether it's a problem in your personal life, whether it's a problem you have in a relationship, friendship, a social circle, whatever it is, that's what we do here on The Naked Truth, is to uncover the truth and to let you guys know what's happening, what's going on in the world that we live today. And the rulers and those who pass laws and hid information from us, and we're living blindly in a lot of things that we actually partake in. So we have to talk about the facts about life and everything else. So that's basically what we do here on The Naked Truth. So the conversation is limitless, right? The information is limitless. And the way that we discuss these information, and how we relate these information, I should say, to the audience and people, it is limitless. Of course, we do our due diligence. We're here because we need to understand the reality of what's taking place. So that is why we're here today, because we want to talk about the Bible. As we have addressed this issue before about the Bible, and of course, a lot of people, this is not their cup of tea. Those people who live their lives the way they want and the way they feel it's right for them, and dismissing, that which is right, or that which is good, that which can shape a person and uphold their principles and put them into a good space. People often ignore those things. They want to do what they want to do. Basically, If they're used to something, they want to continue indulging in that which they're used to. So nobody really cares. A lot of people don't really care about when they hear about Bible. They would use the term, maybe it's too political, or it's too sensitive, or it's too controversial to even speak the truth. So this is the world we live in today. It's controversial to speak the truth about something. We should not speak on these topics because it's too controversial, right? And this is basically what they're saying. Actually, someone, I don't mean to get off topic, but someone was telling me about Kanye West. I don't really watch those things, but they were saying, he was saying some things. I don't want to speak on things that I really don't know. But according to them, he was saying a lot of things about the industry and the business, and I mean, this is common sense to the descendants of slaves. This is practical common sense for all of us to know that there is a conspiracy, whether or not you like it. But you must know that, right? You must know this. All the descendants, of slaves must understood that you were taken away from a place that you would have probably born and probably would have lived among your people and probably would have been great at your abilities that the Creator gave to you. But you weren't grew up in that environment. Why? Because it's not your fault that you didn't. Right? You were taken away by force, or your ancestors were taken by force and brought somewhere else. So with that in mind, you must know that at that time when these atrocities were taking place, there was the idea or the understanding that there was enemies, or there was the hunter and the hunted, right? Or there was the prey and the hunter, or the hunter and the prey. So you had to know this, that there was something there, right, that would have make you think that it's not an inherited. This wasn't an inherited place, right? You didn't inherit the area because your ancestors were stable enough, right? And of those of them who were living within the Americas or other places, they were stable from that time to this time. So they were able to gather their resources. They were able to develop and to do things that, would have reflected, their genius. That wasn't the case. So you'd have to know. I mean, and based on what that person telling me that he was saying, basically, I mean, you know what it is, man. If you are a descendant of slave, then you know that there is a problem, right? There is a huge problem that people tend to ignore, or people tend pretend not to see, but it exists. If you are a descendant, then you must know that if you're a prisoner, there must be guards, right? There must be an overseer, especially if you're not the one in control, you're just a prisoner, right? So there must be somebody behind the scene, right? And then if you were taken by force, it wasn't an agreement, right? You didn't arrive here as an indentured servant, right? So it's kind of different, right? That we had to understand that first. So I always talk about going back to the origin, right? And you hear me kind of rephrase that a lot probably tonight, talking about the topic. So yeah, you have to go back, because if you don't, it means that you're ignoring the proof. You're ignoring that which is the reality. You're ignoring all of that and taking something that was twisted by someone who are telling you that this is where it started. It didn't start at the point that you think. It started at the point that we decided that you have to understand this too. In the 1400s, right? And when white people begin to rise to power, this is when they try to put a time stamp on everything. from when they begin their journey, they will tell you that, well, this is where you start, because you can't go too far back if they weren't there. So anything else, they have to, you understand why they would have to distort the truth around it. That's around whatever else. If they cannot find a way to make it seems like they actually were or was a part of that, they will try to distort that, the truth about it. So you have to understand that, right? I mean, you have to understand that all descendants of slave must know. So it's very obvious for someone to say, well, they feel a certain way within a certain organization or institution, based on bias, and prejudice or racism, however context they want to keep that, right? It had to be that way. So it wouldn't be a surprise to me, although I haven't watched or really familiarized myself with what he was saying. I don't know. It is someone kind of, relating some information and asking me if I did watch what Kanye West was saying, and I didn't really get to see it because I'm not really up in tune with these things, I'm more focused on other things. So maybe I should give that a listen at some point. But I'm sure what he said are it probably would be some of the things that I would say, and maybe not in the same context. Maybe have a different way of expressing that. But in any sense, it would be the truth, right? So I would have expressed it maybe in ways that he didn't, but it would have been the truth, because that's how I would phrase it, whatever it was that I would, talk about or discuss. It would be the truth. So let me open this here. We're here, and welcome, and blessings, honor, glory, praises unto you, Almighty Father. We're here again. It's another moment in time. Another moment in time for us to take time and to see. I spoke about so many different things here, and some of the things, the time, right? You can't cover. We can't cover everything within this short space of time, 2 hours. We have to actually take. It's gonna take time, right, to uncover. I mean, because it's so much to talk about, is so much to uncover, it is so much, it's so much evidence, so much proof there that it's not gonna happen within just 2 hours, right? So it's a tremendous amount of work and effort, to actually get the information out there. But we're willing to share the information with you guys out there and everybody that we can share it with. You understand me? So we have a lot to talk. This book, man, it's a very difficult thing for someone to just jump in this and just come up with an idea. You're talking about, and we're talking about, right, different dispensation, right, in time where people lived, and and the information were uttered by people, some men who were wiser than others, right? Some were wise and some weren't that wise. And just picture today and the population of people that live here just in this country alone, right? And just think for a second that everybody writing about their experiences, say they're putting information in place for the future generation to come. So they're documenting things about themselves, whether it was a spiritual experience or a physical one, right? And whatever it is, in whatever whatever social ground this may happen, right? We're talking about they're putting information basically based on their own experiences, and then later on, all this information, say they're gathered in this data bank, right? And someone decided, no, maybe after this generation pass, or the entire people that live here today is no longer here, and a new group of people arrived, are descendants of those people, and the information somehow was lost, and then someone were able to retrieve that information and bring it back. And just think about someone writing everything or trying to understand what these people were trying to say, and they're trying to write this information to give some kind of context to it, and they're trying to put it in context, because it wasn't written because it was the proper way to go about writing something. It just, people was expressing themselves individually, different place, different areas, and all of this took place. And how would the information be if you was to read what, say, 1 million people wrote based on their experiences? How could you tie this into one book and it would make sense, right? It would make like, oh, it do make sense. It wasn't like an essay with quotation mark and full stop, period, commas. I mean, these things were never there before, right? So when we're reading and we say, oh, it's singular, it's plural, it's a verb, it's an adverb, it's adjective. All of these things that we're going to use is what you have learned in modern, modern education. In ancient time, this was not the case. Besides, the language were never the same. So you have to understand the difference, taking a language from something that it was to, translate it into something else perfectly, right? Without making mistakes, without leaving things out. And how did they able to do that? This is questions that you have to ask, right? How were they able to do this based on that the Israelites were never friends, or, they didn't have a close relationship with these people. They basically conquered them. This is how they kind of got that information, right? So, I mean, if this happens, then you have to understand the enemy would have had the information, and what they choose to do with it would have been what they choose to do. Who could have stopped them? Who could have said, don't write this way, or don't translate this way? This is why, and I want to get deep into this. I'm kind of waiting just a little bit for some more people to come in as we get into the bottom of this. All right. So, as I said, it's a lot to take in, and you have to actually understand it to actually know what's going on. It's a lot. We do have a question, I said, here in the comments. Those all the content in the Bible, comes from the Most High, and this is what we're going to tackle that, because it's relating to this book and the confusion and how this book has been taught to people. I mean, everybody around. The information now just spread very fast, and people just becomes more gullible to whatever it is, and they just, okay, yes, once that's been said, and it is said in a certain way that feel good to that individual, they'll just believe whatever it is. They don't care. Like, okay, whatever, I believe it, So this is why it's important for us to analyze the information first before we begin to give credibility, right? We have to analyze the information, and it's the right thing to do. It is the right thing to do, is to analyze the information, pay attention to how and I'm using sentence because it's a modern thing, right? How the sentence been, drafted up. So it's gonna be difficult for people, simple-minded people would really read this information and understand it as you talk to a lot of people about the Bible. And when you have a conversation about the Bible, you tend people kind of cherry pick what they want. Basically, nobody's talking about the whole book. They're talking about parts that suits them. Parts of the book that's going to be beneficiary for them. They don't care about the rest of it. Okay, I want to be saved. They want to die, and when they die at the end of their life, or as they're getting older in age, right? Right, as they're getting older in age, they want to now find a place, because maybe they realize their life is coming to an end, and they're looking for this eternal peace, maybe after death, or maybe they wouldn't die because they said everlasting life, as if they want this opportunity to stay on the earth forever without leaving. So you find there's a lot of misunderstanding when it comes to the Bible. Let's see if I right. But so, as I said, it's a lot to take in, a whole lot to take in. But as we go down the road of life, they travel down this journey in life, and let me put something here. Yes, my people. So there's a lot to take in reading this book. It's not just picking certain scriptures because you want to support that what you believe, right? You have to dedicate yourself, to Him, and that's basically how you got to do it. So it's very important. It's very important. So we have to definitely find ourselves, right? There are things, right? And I'm saying things that people overlook, and this has been happening ever since. So we speak about. So I'm gonna get into it because this video people can always come back to it, and so let me continue the information here. So let's deal with the first question. Does all the content in the Bible come from the Most High? And that's a very interesting question, right? Does all the content in the Bible comes from the Most High? So yeah. Now, not all of the content within the book came from the Most High or is from the Most High. No. And here we're talking about and as you see the title, there is the Bible, the complete word of God, right? So that's the title, right? Is it the complete word? I mean, is everything said in the book His word, and everything, that's His complete word, or there are things that is added differently, right? So there we go. We're trying to figure this out, to understand, and we're going to resolve this today here on The Naked Truth, right? So of course, not all context in the Bible is true. Not all context in the Bible is true, and there's a next question. We're gonna get to that, but not all context in the book is actually true, right? And not all context in the book were given by the Most High, or were written by Him. If people claim this this idea that these words were written by Him, or they would say inspired by it. So you know what an inspiration is. you like something, you love it so much, it has done great things for you that you want to honor that. So you would probably write about it or talk highly about it, and that people do that. So we say that the inspired word, meaning that somebody took something from basically someone who they look up to or they believed in, right? There must be an encounter though, right? It has to be an encounter. So not all the words in this Bible were comes from the Most High. There are a lot of things in the book that were put there by these authors. These authors that who are these men, are a group of men who translated the book from its original text. They have made a lot of changes to it, and I don't want to say go back to the Greek text and go back to all of this the Septuagint, right? I don't want to say go back to these things, because the book and the people that the book that is responsible for writing are even the beginning, right? At the great inception of this the idea of words putting on paper. These people were never Greek, right? And they were never English either, right? And they were never Chinese or any other group of people. We know that according to the text, these people were Hebrew. They had a different language that they spoke. So, to for another language to translate something and give you full accuracy in it, you have to understand that that won't happen, right? So you won't get that accuracy that you're looking for during the translation of this book. But there are a lot of people who believe in this book. As I said, there is a scripture here, and it's in Revelation. It's the end of Revelation, right? And Revelation means reveal. So the revealing of the Messiah, right? So that's basically what Revelation is, right? And in the last chapter, which is Revelation 22, verse 19, if any man shall take away from, right, the word of the book of this prophecy, God shall take away his part out of the book of life, and out of the holy city, and from the things which are written in the book. So someone is convincing someone, to believe what the book is saying, right? So we're gonna go through the questions one by one, right? So basically we have these men are a group of men that were hired. And how did they know Hebrew language? Where did they learn it from, right? In order for them to understand the text. Or they said it was written in Greek. And in any cases, wherever direction you go, it was either translated in Greek, and then it was translated from Greek to English, right? So you have to understand who were the Greeks and how did they know how to translate this book. And, did they hold these people, or were there Israelites who were living in Greece, right? And did they speak, were they bilingual? Like, no, yes, some people speak Spanish and they speak English, or they speak Chinese and speak English, or Chinese and Japanese. Were they bilingual? You have to understand that. How much contact did these people have with the Hebrew Israelite? Because we know that the Hebrew Israelites were a people that stayed by themselves. They didn't live with other groups of people. So, the only time they have encountered other groups, it was during their captivity, during their captivity. So it's very difficult when you have to go back to the origin to understand what the book is all about and how it come into being, right? Because as I said, it was from the Greek, and most scholars and theologians will tell you this book historically, right, are the original text that they know of. It's Greek. It's in Greek. It's written in Greek, right? But then you have to understand about the book. The people that wrote this book, they were never Greek. So how did it end up in the Greek text, right? What did the Greek do? Where did they get the information from, right? So this is what we have to get into, right? Where did they get the information from in order to compile this book, right? So there's a lot of shaky things there that we have to really get into to understand, right? So greetings, welcome. So the book, the book is more of what and I'm saying people believe. Hello, welcome. People believe what they want to, and they will stick to what they believe in, whether or not they do enough research or have enough proof, for that. So, well, is it up to someone choice to decide to be saved, or is salvation the choice and a decision? Well, that's the thing. Thank you, welcome. So what I'm saying is a decision to be saved. Let me try to give you a clear answer on this. Salvation, right? There are a lot of people who want to be accepted in the kingdom, and it's based on what they have read in this book. I haven't think anyone gotten greetings. I haven't think anyone have gotten their the it's different experiences, right? But I haven't think that people have a life experience with going to heaven, or didn't go to heaven, or even know the location of where this place is. Most of the information that people gathered about this place or area, it's about the Bible, the complete Word of God. This is a topic today, so I have it there in the link. Right, so based on our information, what we learn about Bible, or learn about the book, and the information about heaven and other realms that exist that are spiritual, is basically from reading the Bible, right? So these things, not many people have tangible proof, right, to say yes, this actually, there is a place, right? There's such place that someone went there and have visuals of it, and have evidence of it to come back and say yes. But this is a place because of our commitment and spirituality. People know that there is someone that created them, and a lot of people will call that God. People say it's God who created them, but as I said, we've learned many things based on the book, right? And we're talking or having a discussion based on the book, the information that is written on the pages in the book, right? So when you chose, or we decided by choice to do good, that we can do. We can decide, because there's options. We can decide to be criminals, or to live angrily or wickedly with each other. Or we can decide that I don't want to do these things, I rather do this. Or if it resonates with your spirit more to do good, then this is what you're going to do. So you will do that which is good, because whatever it is resonates with you more. You're in the favor of your goodness, so therefore you will continue to do that which is good, right? But if you cannot make that choice on your own, then I believe that you're doomed, right? Because the choice that you make is going to either take you to the place, of where, let's say maybe there is no place where you can go where this great salvation exists. But doing good, right, are practicing good things and good deeds will only bring back good deeds, because we know the energy of the universe is very, is rewarding. And this, you speak about karma. The things that you do will come back in circle to you, right? So you want to do good things so that you're reaping good things when it's your time to receive, right? So doing that which is good is, you're going to be paid back, not immediately, not by someone, but you'll see the more goodness you do, that the result will be much better for you. So people do decide that they want to do good, and when you decide to do that, right, then the Most High will accept you. But the Most High, who is good, you understand me, who has no fault, will accept you. It's just like you have a child, you have a son or a daughter, and this child is doing all that is good to you. You're pleased as a mother or a father. You're pleased, with how they're living and what they're doing, because if they emulate you, right, and as a parent, and you you have certain qualities about you, certain good qualities about you, right? So if these qualities are good, you want to see your kids do these things. You'll try to steer them into the right direction so that they can embody these qualities that you have, right? You understand? So you'll be pleased when your child is emulating what you did. That which is good. I'm not talking about the negative things, but that which is good would be great to see for any parents, any mother, any father to see that. So, of course, when your child do great things, you will embrace him, and you want to see them succeed more, You want to see them. You want to see them do great and become greater and more greater. So you're going to embrace them. So this is a very, this is a very important thing, right? So when you begin to do good by choice, you have to choose first to relinquish yourself from that which is negative, right? And whenever you do that, then the path of goodness will open for you, and all the fruits of goodness and righteousness you will be able to harvest. But if you can't do that, then you only expect that if you go down a path of destruction. And let me use an example. If you go around by choice, decisions, and you're robbing people and you're killing people just for the fun of it, or just for your benefits, then what you think is going to happen to you? Someone is going to kill you. So you get what I'm saying? So the fruits, you understand me? Whichever fruits you plant that is negative, and that which is positive, that's what you'll get back in return. So all that you put out, you understand me, good and bad, will return unto you. So decisions that you make in your life to do good or to be good, right? These decisions, once you let go, because you have to look within yourself, decide within yourself that you want to change. You want to do things that are good for you, or things that are good to you. So you begin to change from that. And when you change, it's like you, as I said, an example, you have a child and you're the parent, and you tell the child to do that, these things, and maybe the child is stubborn, right? Say, he's not doing what you're saying. He's not listening or taking heed to anything or the rules that you put in place. He's opposing everything you say, right? So you may be angry, right, at the child, right? But if the child begin to find his way, he has to analyze himself and figure out that my mom is right or my father is right about these things, because when I go the other way, there is no benefit there. I haven't seen any benefit there. Some people learn faster than others. Some people will learn quicker than others, right? But some will get it fast. Some will recognize their mistakes and change. Some won't. Some will continue to perpetuate their negative behavior, which result into destruction in the end, right? So you have to choose, you understand me, You have to choose to make the choice, as I would say, right, to save yourself, right? And when you decided that you want to be saved by you doing that which is good, right? The Most High will accept you. He will only accept you when you, because remember, He didn't kick you out, He didn't run you away. He created you, and you're supposed to follow in His footsteps, right? You're supposed to do that which is good. So when you go off into something else, you're making that decision to do that. So when you come back, and when the Most High can look in your heart and see that, well, you really acknowledge the wrongs that you're doing, and you're truly changing, He's going to open His arms for you and take you back. Said, okay, I see that you have made the effort to change, and you're changing. So now you got the support. You got His support now, but He won't interfere in your life saying to pull you in to save you. No, you have to be seeking Him for Him to actually reach out to you and save you and take you in. You understand? So that's how it is. So the decision is yours to make, but salvation is coming from Him. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because when you make the decision to do that which is right, then the Most High will come in. Now He will save you. He will be the guide and the protector. He will save you, and where salvation, the result of salvation for a lot of people, right, is to reach to this place that they dream about, where you call heaven, right? So that's the end game for salvation, right? Is you achieving, this heights, achieving this relationship that you can reach to those heights, or you'll be accepted in the moments of your demise, or the moment that you pass off of the earth, or the moment that you're still alive and living and serving the Most High as you should. Well, who is the original author of the book? Well, there are many authors of this book. This book is, if you can read the different pages, you'll see that they have different, you have Deuteronomy, you have Numbers, Leviticus, Psalms, you have Joshua, you have Chronicles, you have Kings, you have, Samuel, Daniel. There is a lot, there is a lot of things there, right? There are a lot of things there. Well, but let me finish with the author of this book. So there are a lot of authors, as I said, from the beginning. And these people are people basically who documented their journey, who documented their experience, things that they were going through, things that happened to them. They documented, this journey because they wanted to have information, maybe to pass down to their children, or maybe within the moment, that's how they felt that they wanted to, preserve certain information so they can reflect on those things, or they could learn from them. So you find there are a lot of people who participated in compiling the information. It's not one person who wrote the book. And this book, it's from generation to generation. So we're talking about a diary, right? A diary that was written by thousands of people, right? Which into their language, you'd say they're authored, right? They're author. And so a lot of people wrote this, and what it was written on was scrolls. Wasn't compiled like this, right? It wasn't this like what you're looking at, this, book here. It was compiled and it was, it was sorted through by those people who conquered the people that the book belonged to. Hello, welcome, right? So these people that the information belonged to, who wrote their history, who wrote their experience, it was taken from them. And then the people that had possession of the book now begin to change what they feel was good in the book, relating to them, or inputting themselves in the book for religious purposes. Greetings, greetings. Right? You say in the end, if the decision is right. Hello, everyone. Hello, welcome. You say, but in the end, still his decision right. Well, you make a decision, and the decision that you make is to do that which is good, that which is right. In the end, if you make the right decision, then of course, in the end, it will be right. It would be right if there is no, if you weren't pretending to just say things out of, just saying it just to, because you know that you wanted to be saved or you're looking for salvation. Remember, you're talking, or you're up against a power that is far greater, right? This power is far greater than you. It's far greater than me. You cannot play games or deceive or trick, as you would say here, this individual, right? Or this consciousness. Let me not say individual, but this consciousness that governs the universe. You cannot trick it. All information comes from it. Every idea of thinking and thoughts process came from this, this consciousness. So it cannot be tricked, cannot be deceived. It search your heart. So if you're lying, you're basically lying to yourself. You cannot lie to this entity, right? You can't lie to the Creator. The Creator cannot be lied to. He knows everything in your heart from the beginning to the very end. He knows whether or not you're going to be committed. He knows the time if you say that you'll be committed, and the time that you will falter along the road or along the way. He knows that, okay, there are times that you're going to be committed for 10 years and truly, honestly, you're committed. But something happened and changed your thinking, and you change from that. He knows all of that. So whichever direction you may go, right, he knows the ending of whichever journey or whichever path you take. Right? So your decision is yours. And you have to stay steady fast with that. You have to hold firm to what you believe, right? And if you hold firm to what you believe, then that's the end result and the reward that that is there for you. You will get that. You're saying so it shouldn't be a last chapter there, but a continuation story. Yes, and I agree with that. The book starts from Genesis to Revelation. It's not an ending of this book. So, there is no end to. You have to understand this, right? These people, the Israelites, they were family members. They were living, and they become a great nation, right? Our nations, right? Out of them. But they are all relative. They stay together within a certain era that was given to them by their creator, right? So they've stayed there, and they have their experiences. If you notice when you read the Bible, the only encounter that any other nation has in the book, it's that which Israel, when Israel encountered them. So it may be the Canaanites, right? You won't hear nothing about the Canaanites because this information is not coming from the Canaanites, right? It's not coming from the Grecians, right? It's not coming from the Persians or the Romans or the Philistine. None of them. The only time you hear Philistine mentioned in the book is because the Israelites had an encounter with them. And because of this encounter, their name is mentioned there. So they'll talk up. So that's their experience. Their experiences with these people, they talk about what took place. If you were in Brooklyn and you're documenting your travel, or you're writing a diary about your life, what took place with you within that area, you would speak about the people that you encounter. So if you didn't encounter someone, their names or their existence would never be written inside the book, or wouldn't be in your diary, right? But the people that you encountered, they would likely be a part of what you're talking about, right? And it wouldn't be that close of an encounter, more like what took place between you and the person, maybe what was said, how it was said, maybe the captivity and what they did to your people or what you did to them. If you read in Genesis, right, where you have when Moses was in Pharaoh's in Pharaoh's court, right? Moses was an Israelite, right? But he grew up in Pharaoh's kingdom, right? And Moses ended up killing, right? Killing one of the soldiers who were beating an Israelite brother of his, right? He ended up killed him, right? So Moses decides, say, no, why? It's my brother. So they're family. So Moses killed. So, and when Moses killed him, this was mentioned in the book, right? That he killed someone that was an Egyptian. So an Egyptian got killed by Moses. So you see, the encounter that happened, Moses would have mentioned that his journey, what he went through, what he did. Even with Samson, the very same thing. He was traveling on his journey and he ended up encountering a lion and he killed the lion, right? And the walk wherever he went to was a very far place that when he came back, the lion was already decayed and it was just the bones left. And then there was a beehive inside the bones, right? And he ended up trying to give a riddle off of that to the Philistine when they encountered them. So basically, you're talking about Delilah and all of these people are basic encounters that these people have. They were never a part of the book. So the book is basically a history. It's a history book about these people who lived and they had a relationship with their God, right? And they wrote their information down. Sadly, today, this book now and the information that is written in it is not the full information that these people lay down for themselves. So they have taken the book and it's been perverted, right? It's been conformed to what they wanted it to be. This information wasn't given by the Israelites to the rest of the world. It was not. It was given to the rest of the world by Christians, right? Christians who forced other nations to become Christians. This is how they have this book. This is how Chinese, German, Russian got a copy of this, right? This wasn't their book. This is why there are a lot of things in this book that they cannot live by, right? And they disagree with it because it doesn't resonate with their culture. It doesn't resonate with their culture, so they will take things that they think is more more easier for them to follow from this book. So they'll take things from this and say, okay, I don't want to do that. For instance, some people want to eat pork, right? Because they're used to eating pork, they don't want to stop. How dare the Bible say we shouldn't eat pork? We've been eating pork so long. This is our culture. Why is this? Why is this religion forced upon us that we now, right? We now have to stop eating pork. Some people love jerk pork. They love their pork. They love other things that are forbidding. Not for them, but these are other nations outside, right? The Israelites are different. They were giving a law to follow. They were giving a law that they should follow this law, right? And they should eat a certain thing. They should do certain things different from the other nations out there. That was very, very important for them. This has nothing to do with the other nations. So you understand, their culture is different from the other nations outside who would be considered pagans, right? They wanted to do whatever they want. Men sleep with men, women sleep with women, whatever they want to do. That's their lifestyle outside. You understand me? But Israel, because they were holy people, they were chosen to be that. They had to do things different from the other group of people. This is why they were separated from the other group of people, or the inhabitants of the earth. Right? So that's what it was. So you have to understand these people now would have documented their lifestyle, their customs, their culture, whatever they did, right? They would have it would have been documented, right? So it's not every single word that the Most High has given them or talked to them on an occasion that is the word of God. Majority of the book is based on history and people that's honoring the Creator. It's not the word of the Most High. You understand me? You'll read the book for yourself, and there's a few areas that it talks about where the Most High claim to be speaking or speak to Moses, right? And give Moses the 10 Commandments or speak to the children are there. When the book refer to Lord, or these men are saying Lord, Lord, it's actually talking about a visit from a messenger that you would call an angel. So when most of the time they said Lord, it's not talking about the Creator himself. When they say God, it's not talking about the Creator himself. Not in every sense it's saying that. Then you read the book. These men that men refer to as God are not the Creator himself. See, because the word God is not a name. It's just a title, right? And these men would honor these people who visit them. They would call them God or they would call them Lord, right? But that's not their name. That's just a title, right? Right? A title that comes with a limit, right? Even the Most High said that we are gods, right? We're gods of the earth, right? So even us, we're called gods, but the lower creature cannot call us that because why? We don't understand their language, right? But they would have looked up to us as gods. So these men that visited the earth are angels that visit. These people would exaggerate and because they're humble to the reality that this present is visiting them, this miraculous thing that you don't see that today, right? They would bow down and, oh my Lord, and can I wash your feet? Please stay the night. And they will offer things and they will do whatever. They'll be very humble by their presence. But it doesn't mean that every time they said Lord and God, it's talking about the Creator himself. No, the Creator speak to Moses, and according to his visit and encounter with Moses, right, is that no, my friend, you didn't mix too much. We're still here going, you know. So according to Moses, his encounter with the Most High was to give Israel laws to follow. That was his encounter. Most of the other things that, if you read the book, you have to understand when the Most High was speaking, right? Because most of the time, there were angels who visit, right? And these angels would bring information or message to these people. Like you said, go on to Miriam or go on to Rebecca and tell her that she will be with a child. So these men are angels, right? Are messengers. They're working, right? And they're obedient to the Creator himself. So he will tell them, okay, go to Samson's mother and tell her that she will bear a son and she should call him Samson. He's giving information to someone to relate to somebody. So his obedient servants are traveling back and forth. The Most High didn't get up out of his throne or off his throne and said, let me go visit this one and this one. He never does that. The only time he did was when he visited Moses in the mountain. That we read about in the book. This was an encounter, right? So that's when he visited Moses. But most of the encounter are angels. And when you hear Lord and all of these other things has been said, it's not referring to the Creator himself. Okay? And, as you said, the story should continue because our chapter is not finished because there's nothing had to this book since the fall of the Israelites, and they're scattered all over the place. And, the book tells you that they will be discontinued from their heritage, and because of this, and because these people are not in the position anymore to rule, right? They're scattered among the people. So you find that the book temporarily, or what they would have been writing about, is no more, right? But maybe within their own communities, these people still have a connection with their God and want to honor him and want to say things, good things about him, right? So the story continues. We're just not documenting our journey as our ancestors did before. You know, we're not doing that now. So you find that Genesis to Revelation, this is what they call the end of the last book, which is Revelation, the revealing of the Messiah. That's the last prophet that came, right? And told Israel what was going to transpire in the latter days, right? What was going to happen in the latter days to Israel, and why, and his purpose for coming to bring salvation to them in the very end, or wherever they will be scattered among the other nation, you know, and what his purpose and how he will, you know, bring them back to the fold in the latter days, right? But the story didn't finish. The story ceased for a while because the children of Israel are no longer in the position, right, to rule, no longer have the ability they had before, right, to do those great miraculous things that they used to, because they disobeyed the Most High and they're kicked out of the land. So it's not just the revelation is the ending of the story of the Israelite, you know. The Israelite story continues, whether they acknowledge it or not. There are a lot of them out there who stand up against, unrighteousness, who stand up for equality, who stand up for their people, who stand up and want to fight. Their journey didn't finish, you know, who stand up and challenge the enemies that oppress and downtrod those, you know, who are less fortunate. I mean, their story has not been finished. It's not documented the way that it used to before, right? But these men came and they sacrificed themselves. They died on their journey trying to liberate their people, right? They died, some of them been executed because they wanted to see better for their people. They wanted to see change. Maybe that approach that they used and the concept they used in modern times wasn't the same as in the ancient time, right? And the result maybe wasn't the same. Maybe they weren't familiar with their God because, as I said before, they will be discontinued from their heritage, so they won't know who they are. They won't know how. They won't know how, you know, to go about, it, especially in a modern time. So they would basically have to, what they would have to do is basically have to go by what they were indoctrinated with. Yeah. They would be discontinued from their heritage, so they would be lost. Now, I'm sure I spoke about this before. This is the reason why the Messiah came in the first place, because the Most High knew that Israel would not be in the land anymore. And because they would be scattered, how would they regather themselves? How would they regather? They can't. There had to be something there, a blood, something to atone, because they wouldn't know the custom anymore. So that custom that they're used to and the sacrifices that they used to do wouldn't be there anymore. So they couldn't go to the priest. Okay, I know where the priest is. I commit a small infraction and I'm going to go to the priest to clear myself of this. So they would bring a turtle dove or something to the priest or offering, and the priest would take that and atone for their sins, right? And clear Israel of all sins, right? Now, this wouldn't happen if they're scattered among their nation. It means that they lost their language, their identity, everything. But they would find themselves at some point. This is why the book tells you that, listen, they will remember, right? And and I'm gonna give you the scripture to go read Ecclesiastes, right? 12:1. Remember your creator in the days, right, of your youth. No, that's not the scripture. No, sorry, not that one. I had to find that for you. Let me check it out. My apologies for that. Yeah, they will remember. I got to pull that up for a second. Yeah, they will remember his. They will remember him, and when they do, this is when the awakening begins. Right? They will begin to remember, and why they would is because a lot of Hebrew Israelites are still clinging to other religions. Right? They're clinging to things because they don't know, and there's what you call this innate ability inside of them, pulling them to this type of lifestyle. They want to. They know something is missing, but they just can't pinpoint it. Why? Because there's a prophecy on them that they would go through this for a certain amount of time before the fulfillment come about. You know, so this is what's happening now. So these people, the Israelites, they will remember their God, and when they do, it's going to change everything. Right? Everything will change. So this is why the blood is there. The blood is there that they don't have to search very far or try to remember their customs or try to find the priest, because the priests don't remember themselves either. How else would they be gathered? That's why the Messiah shed his blood there for them. So when that time comes, all they have to do is find the Creator now with their mind, their hearts, and their soul. And once they do that, everything will come back to their remembrance, right? And they will begin to see the truth and understand who they are. Because the blood is there. Once they know this, they will automatically be atoned for whatever sin is committed, and they will be right back in that space that they were before. A lot of Israel, and I'm talking about a lot of Israelites out here today, don't know that. They don't know where they are. They don't know what's going on. They're going. Some of them are, majority of them are Christians. A small group of them are Islam. So they're taking on other religions, other gods outside of their God, right? So they're clinging to these different things, and I know a lot of people grew up on Christianity because this is what they used to push this information to every culture, right? This end up in all cultures around the world today. Why? Because it was pushed by Christians. It wasn't sit down and talked about. It's like the Chinese culture, right? In China, Chinese are living the way they live, and they have maybe some interesting documents. And Chinese said, okay, this is very powerful. Maybe we should share it with the rest of the world. And then they go out and said, we're going to try to share what we have with the rest of the world, right? And now people have to say, oh, this is how we got it because the Chinese share this with us, right? Rightfully so. But that's not how it happened, right? They were forced to accept this. All of this that took place was to distort the truth, right? Was to give these people and these other cultures. And this is why when you talk about this book, a lot of people don't even know what they're talking about, right? They've read it, but it just doesn't make sense to them. It can't make sense because it's not a part of your culture. It was never a part of your culture. How could it make sense to you when it was never a part of what you and your people always been doing from the beginning? This is just a new input into your lives, our modern lives. Now you're trying to understand what it is. And you're staking claim to things now because you don't know. And when you read, it doesn't reflect you at all. You know? Yeah, I mean, well, my brother, yeah, Bill, you said you love her, but I also lust for her. This is, I believe we talk about sin before and lusting. when you have someone that you're with, and we're going off just a little bit just to clear this up. When you have somebody that you love, and you're with that person, right? Your imagination will be there. And when the book talk about lusting after someone is, and wrongfully so, is when you know that, okay, there's this woman and she's married to someone, and in your eyes she may look appealing, and then you start to have these mental desires for her, right? Mental sexual desire in your mind, your thoughts about her. This is when you're lusting after someone. It becomes a sin because she's not your woman, right? She's married already. Now you're creating sin by you looking at her, in a way that you're not supposed to, right? So this is where the lust comes in with your personal wife, right? And I'm saying, for your wife or the woman that you encounter, right? She becomes a part of who you are now. To how we phrase things today and say wife and girlfriend, and we try to say, oh, some girlfriend and all of these nonsense. Listen, when you take a woman and when you share substance with this woman, she is your wife, right? Whether or not you stand up in front of a pastor, a preacher, a councilman, or whoever it is that can say what you call modern marriage today, she is your wife. The book tells you should take a woman, right, and become one with her. Flesh of her flesh, blood of blood. Do you hear what it said? You shall become one with her, flesh of her flesh, blood. Now the Most High already married you from the beginning. Once you accept this woman with all goodness, right, with honor, respect, that is your wife. Not no girlfriend, boyfriend nonsense that everybody play around and try to say, oh, well, he's a boyfriend or he's a girlfriend, so you can do it. So whatever you think, right, in the space, your private space with you and that woman, you can't lust. Whatever desire you feel within that space with that woman, that's by right. You understand me? Your imagination and desire for that particular woman that belongs to you, or that woman that is with you. So my brother, it can't be a sin when you have that person already, and you think of her in ways that you're supposed to think. This is what it is. Now you have to control your feelings, right? You have to control your urges at times. You can't let them control you, but you're with this person to share everything, right? To explore everything that is right and righteous. You understand? So that is the amazing thing with it, So it's not a sin. It's life, and it's love, and it's wonderful to share these things and imagine, because you're with your wife, you're with that individual that you truly love. Yes, controlling that. So yeah, let's. Well, you say, if not everything in it is true, many things seems to make no sense. Well, exactly. The Bible, man, it yes, my brother, and she must be that, and she is your wife, and all that glorious thing. So you can share the moments in your own private space with her, whether you're imagining or you're feeling whatever desire for her. You can't get sin for that. You're in the context of your own space and private space, that to share whatever you want. So if everything in the book is not true, it doesn't make sense. It's not going to make sense. If I and if you're writing a diary, and you wrote that diary based on, it's your words, and you may write some things that only you understand it, right? Or maybe say your people understand these slangs or short phrases that you use. Other people outside wouldn't understand it. If they should get your diary and open it, read it, It wouldn't make sense to them. But to you, you could sit down and tell them, okay, this was January 15, 1987, and I was in this country here, and I was doing this, and you could give them the story in context because you only put certain things there in probably shorthand. You know, a lot of people know what shorthand is, right? Or in certain way that you can understand this, right? And your people understand it as well. Just like even now, you go into the black neighborhood and you speak, you can talk, you understand the language, right? The slang, what you would call slang. You know, you can understand the language, right? Because you're a part of that group of people. Someone else outside wouldn't understand what they're saying. So the conflict with the Bible is because this book belongs to a group of people, a nation of people. There are other nations out there, right, who end up getting this book by chance, or it was forced upon them by Christianity. This is how they got it. It wasn't given by the Israelites to them to study. It wasn't given to them by God to study either. They took this information by force, bloodshed, and when they got it, they tried to translate this information to understand what it was saying in their language. And when they did that, they begin to force other nations to partake in this religion that they built around this, right? And this is how they got the book. So you have to understand how they reached to this point, right? It wouldn't make sense when you're reading something that is not a part of your culture. If you go to China or go to one of those countries, you know, you speak, thank you, my brother. You speak to someone and they're speaking things, you won't know it. It would seem confusing. Even you stay there for a while, there are a lot about their culture that you wouldn't know because why? You're a stranger. But if you were born there, you would be familiar with everything that's been said. You understand what I'm saying to you? So the book would seem as if it doesn't make sense. And I'm telling you, there are a lot of things in there that doesn't make sense because when, you know, these people were trying to translate it, they end up exaggerating a lot of things in the book. They're adding things to it, right? They're trying to complete the story, but the story was never completed. There wasn't no full stop, comma, dot, apostrophe S, or, you know, or capital S and capital this. These were never the cases when these people write, you know, their history or wrote down these experiences that they had. So these are new things that came into place. So when you read in the book and you're going to chapter, you know, you're going to chapter 12, so you're going to Proverbs 11. There was nothing like this. This book were never, were never categorized like this. Oh, Proverbs 11, 18, verse chapter 9. This is the English version of how they decide to do it, and within their English language. Oh, they have full stop, comma, pause, and all of these other things, quotation mark, and all these other things exist, right, in their way of constructing a sentence or whatever. Singular, plural, you know, verb, adverb, adjectives, all of these things are modern things. This has nothing to do with the original text. So when you read this, it's not a complete text. It's about an adventure. I'm going to say it as an adventure. It's about a journey and an experience that someone had on that journey. You know, it's like, okay, I'm walking, right, and I traveled the deserts, right, and so my name would represent if I did put my name there, right, and I'm writing an experience, a story. I'm a part, say I'm an American, right? And I'm writing something based on our culture, my people. I went somewhere and I had an experience and I'm documented. I document the experience that I have, right? So that either my people could know, or I could use it as reference later on in my life, or I could make my kids know that I had this adventure before, for whatever reason it was, right? As I said, most of the scriptures is innocent. These are just things that people wrote, but because the enemy came in and took everything, they decided to put everything. These men were writers. You have to remember, as the generation outside begin to evolve, right, and becomes familiar with writing and and these type of thing, it was an interest. It was a time when men, oh my God, they just want to write because it was new to them. This was a new thing. It was a new invention, so everybody wanted to be a part of it. And then there were a time when everybody were interested in building. So you have architects. Everybody claimed that they want to learn architects, and everybody doing different design, and that was the time for that. It was new, so everybody wanted to partake in it. So they were building and challenging each other in building, and there were writers who challenging other writers, because it was new. Nowadays, nobody care much about it because it becomes normalized now, and it's not interesting as it was before, when everybody was just taking and writing and writing and writing. And I'm talking about the new group of people that came in later on, right? To them, it was new. But these people who had this ancient history writing, when these new groups of people saw that, they were fascinated by this. Oh my God, writing. This look amazing. So they wanted to know everything. They wanted to learn everything. They wanted to know what it was about, and this is what they did. They began to learn it. They took everything, every single writing, whether it was from a family that had nothing to do with the priests, whether it was a collection of writing from the priests and the prophets, or it was collection of writing from just maybe a family who liked to write about their personal experience. Everything was taken. That was, in that time, it was valuable. Writings and books were valuable like gold, right? So they would have taken everything that was written, and then they tried to put it together in the book, piecing it together. So when you read the book now, you're realizing that, well, this doesn't seem like a complete story. It's not. It was never a complete story. My experience was, I went to Trinidad and I went into the mountains, and I experienced a burning bush there. And the burning bush speak back to me while I was there, and we had a conversation, me and this bush, right? Then this bush gave me information and instructions. I took these instructions, and there was a fire out of nowhere, burning and cutting and carving a stone out of, a stone, writing on a stone. And I took this stone, right? And I went to my people with them, and I show these people and I tell them about this great thing that happened, right? So it wasn't full stop. Everything ended there and that's it, right? I told my experience, my story, and that was it. Finished. So the continuation, when you read the story and they say, and then this, and they try to exaggerate the story to make it seem like it's in the format that today literature is written in, right? So within that context, you're going to always think that there had to be some kind of summarizing, right? There had to be something to prove, right, that the story complete and it comes to a complete end. So we have a start, finish. They tell you when you're writing an essay, the body and different parts of it. So this is how they try to construct this. This is not what it was. So we have to learn that first. You know what I'm saying? So the confusing things, and a lot of people would read and everybody get wrong information from the book because the book belongs to somebody else. These people that it belongs to, right? They were family members, right? Remember, God chose, right, Abraham, right? Let me just give you an understanding of this. Abraham was chosen, right? And out of Abraham there was, right, Ishmael, and there was Isaac. Now, who was Ishmael? Ishmael was the first son, right? Abraham's first son. But Ishmael didn't get the blessing. Who got the blessing? Isaac was the chosen. So there was two people, right? But one of them was chosen, and you have Christians try to deny this, right? A lot of them try to deny the idea that, oh, why would God choose? There was Ishmael, there was Isaac, and the Most High chose Isaac instead, right? And out of Isaac, he chose again out of that group. As Isaac multiply and have children and children, he chose because So it's two seed. He said he's going to make Ishmael a great nation of kings and whatever, right? So now Ishmael went his way, create his own family, even though they're brothers, but they're different, right? One was chosen by the Creator and the other wasn't, right? Now, not that this choice ever finished, right? There was always a chosen as you go down through generation to generation. Now you had Jacob, right? And you had Esau. Who was chosen again? He chose between the two brothers again. Jacob was chosen. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So Israel, the whole conglomerate of Israel was a family member. Brother, sister, uncle, auntie, niece, nephew, whatever modern term you want to call them. They're all connected by blood. So when we talk about the Bible and we talk about the adoption and we talk about grafted in and all of these things, and when you read the Bible, it's saying Israel and the lost sheep. Why they call lost sheep? It means that the shepherd, right, who were managing the sheep, you understand, the sheep begin to become stubborn and want to venture off, so they're lost. They're gone, and they have to be grafted back in. They have to come back to the fold, right? So these sheep, this is why they were called lost sheep, because these people lose their identity and they're no longer a nation of people anymore. They're scattered among the nation and doing whatever the other nations are doing. So they're brothers and sisters and aunties and uncles and niece and nephew by blood. The Israelites are by blood. The other nation, the book even tells us, if these people are for those who choose to sojourn among Israel, must learn the laws, the statutes, and commandments. So you have to follow the rules if you're going to live among these people. But they kept themselves separate from the other groups of people on the planet, right? It's only in modern terms, our modern time now, that people don't want to deal with this information. But back in the early centuries and that time, everybody knew who Israel was. They knew and nobody cared. Everybody were doing their own thing. Everybody else had their own gods. Everybody else had everything, until when this book began to publicize around the world, right, are forced upon people. This is when people believe that they're included in this. Before that, they never thought that this book existed because they weren't living with Israel. There was not television, you know. There was never television, right? There weren't television around where everybody knew what Israel was doing. No, these people kept themselves to themselves, doing the work of their God, right? Everybody else had their gods. In Egypt, the Egyptians have their own God, even when the Israelites went there, right? And were staying there for that time and were oppressed by the Egyptians. They were a family together doing what they were doing there at the time, right? So they never stopped. You know? So you know, you have to understand that. And I hope you guys can really get a clear picture of what I'm saying, you know? So you know, we're talking about these people, these family members who are scattered and live today and exist today outside, and how these are the nations that come in trying to replace them by using this very book that don't even belongs to them. And this book, right, that they're using, right, if you read the Bible, it's telling you about, in the end, what's going to happen to Israel, right? The promise, the giving of the law, all of that shall go to Israel in the end. It said Israel shall be saved with an everlasting glory, right? World without end, right? So Israel in the end is going to be saved. So who came at some point and saying that Israel no longer exists? Who would say that? Who would say that when he said that in the end, he's going to write the law in their hearts, that the young won't have to learn from the elder and the elder won't have to teach the young? They would know because it will be written in their hearts. Do you know anywhere? Do anybody living today this prophecy that the Bible speaks about? Do anyone out there in the comments, anybody, have they seen anyone, any nation of people out there who don't need to learn from their elders and their elders don't need to learn from them? There is none. Why? Because this prophecy did not come to pass as yet. Yeah. This prophecy didn't happen yet. It's a future prophecy. That means the people are still scattered, right? They are still scattered. So how dare, Christianity would make such a claim? Using replacement theology to get rid of the idea, the very fact that they took this information, right? And we know the stem, the root of Christianity, that it was the Romans, right? And you know that the Romans in 70 AD, what you call it, they destroyed Jerusalem and killed millions of Hebrew Israelites. This is how they got the information. Now, the very people that murdered and killed so many Israelite brothers and sisters turned around and tried to be godly using this thing. This is going to make them godly, right? Pushing this agenda, telling you, oh, it's the Holy Bible and this book is going to save. This cannot save. This book cannot save you. There are things that are written in here, right, that men has to live by. Some things in here, right? You could carry this with you. Bring it with you and tell me if it's going to save you if you don't live by the things here. The words here are written down. If you don't make them a part of your life, that which is important and true, that is written here, this cannot save you. It can't. How many guys you see with the small Bible in their pocket, they think it's what you call that, a bulletproof vest, or it's a defense shield that they could just carry the book and nothing can happen to them. Don't you see people die with this in their pocketbooks, in their hands still? This won't save you on the battlefield, my friend. Only the Creator can save you on the battlefield. So not this. This can give you an idea how to find your way back to where you was lost. Do you understand me? And you have to be wise. You have to be smart to navigate through what's written here, what they did to this book. You have to be very smart to find your way through this. Otherwise, I'm sorry. So, my brothers and sisters, as you know, that the book, what they call book today, this compiled information that's supposed to be from the scrolls and from the Israelites and their experiences and what they live and their history, has now been in the hands of other nation, and it's just a huge confusion because the culture doesn't resonate with the culture in Asia, in China, in Guatemala, in Panama, in these other places, because the original people who wrote this story, when they read it, right, it resonates with them. They know what it's talking about. They could feel it. They know that, well, this is something else, because their spirit bear witness to the truth. Yep, many people have this book and they believe because they have it, of course, that they know God. A lot of people would think that too. They believe that because Genesis, or they believe because they can quote the scriptures meaning anything. It doesn't mean nothing. If you're not living and serving the Most High, you don't know anything, because this is just, men has translate this book and they tell you a lot of crap about it. They tell you that there's an Old Testament, there's a new one. When did the information that they took becomes old and new? And why would they say it's old and new? The fact that the things that are written in the book that was first published, right? Now remember, Rome took the book and they had a book. They had a book that they, part of the book that they translated, right? So from Malachi, Genesis to Malachi, right? That was the ending of that book. That's what they took from the information and translate. They didn't translate all the scrolls. They just wanted just what they think was sufficient for them, right, to practice their religion, right? So they took what they wanted, right, and they left the other books out, the other information. They call it the Apocrypha later on, but the other information that was there, then later on when King James now, authorized the translation of the other version now, they had a problem with Rome. Rome didn't want that to happen. It was a conflict between them, to the point where they say King James is a homosexual and all these type of negative things were said about him because he wanted to do this, and they had a problem. The priests in Rome, do you know, even within that time, only Roman so-called priests had a Bible. If they caught you with one, you'd be killed. They were the only one who had a copy of this book, right? So they would teach from this and tell people all kind of nonsense from this. It's later on when the printing press come is when this book now spiral out of control. Now they couldn't stop it anymore. Prior to that, Rome had just the only copies, right? And they would read this and they would do, you know how many people died because they tried to change what's inside of the book? You know how many people died, lost their lives because they're saying, oh, this is the way it is, because they didn't understand anything that this book was saying. And the judgment of the Most High, they took it out. All of the book that sound gruesome and sound that judgment was going, people were going to die and be burnt, and he was going to come and dip his sword in blood and kill. And they didn't want that because they wanted their people in their culture to believe, oh, God is loving and everything is good and he's not going to do nothing to you. He loves you so much that he will never harm you. And guess what? You don't have to do anything. You can kill 1,000 men today, and guess what? Just say you believe in this Jesus, whoever that person is, right? And you'll be saved. And guess where you're going to go? Heaven. That's where you're going to go. This is their concept, right? Yep, a lot of people, my brother, think memorizing the scripture is going to make you an intellectual person, a godly person. It doesn't mean anything. We all don't have the capacity to remember things. Sometimes we have to go back to, the scriptures because it's in English, and the whole context of what the truth about the scrolls were, it's not even here. There's just bits and pieces and fragments that you're going to get here, So you have to take everything in consideration when you're reading this book. You have to take everything in consideration, my brothers and sisters. Everything. These people took this information and what they did with it, and to keep the Israelites hidden, because remember, if you go back and read the book, this book is only talking about Israel, 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 Israel. Why is it talking about only Israel? Because the book belongs to Israel. If you read a book that's keep telling you about Chinese, why would you think at any point that you belong in that book? So if the book has been talking about Chinese from the beginning to the middle to the end, and it's still Chinese, and in the end, after everything is finished and the judgment, the Chinese are going to get everything. Whose book is it? Now, if you see any writing in between those lines telling you anything differently, it means that somebody compromised, right? Someone compromised the information and tried to change it to put themselves in it. So they'll tell you that the Paul, right? Paul, the letter from Paul. This is where Christianity is based on. First, it's based on John 3:16, right? Because they said, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten sons, right? Only begotten son. But yet the book tells us that we all are sons and daughters of the Most High. Okay, fine. He gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believe in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. This is the quote, right? This is what they've said in that scripture. Now, there's more than one thing is wrong with that, but we're not getting into that now. No, they would tell you that Paul and these letters said, go out unto the Gentiles and preach unto the Gentiles and, bring them back. But they haven't read the whole story about what Paul actually said, right? So they'll leave the parts out, right? So Paul was an Israelite, and he said, who were they going out to? Is those Israelites. Remember, Israel always, even in Jeremiah, Malachi, talk about Israel. Is Israel going to always be a slave? Because every time they sin, they went into captivity, and they always go through in captivity. Every time they falter, they break the laws, the Most High kick them out, and they end up in captivity, right? So every time they go into captivity, what happened to them? And I'm going to tell you why the nations today knew this, even though they haven't experienced of this. They haven't seen these things happen yet, but they're afraid because they know if Israel wake up, their kingdom cease to exist. It's no more great American, great Russian, great Europe anymore. It's over. Finish. You get what I'm saying to you? Do you know that? Do you people out there know that? They know this. This is why they're hiding the information and tampering with the information, because when Israel becomes aware of who they are, everything is going to change in the earth. Every single thing is going to change in the earth. And all the nations around know this. They know. This is why they're keeping the information away from these people. Just pay attention. When the Israelites were in Egypt, what happened there? What did the Most High did to them again? He went to Egypt, and what did he do? Did he destroy the Egyptians for his people? He said, "Let my people go." What do you think he did when they were in the Greek captivity, and in the Persian captivity, and in the Philistine captivity? What did he do to them? What did he do to the Canaanites? What did he do to them? He killed every single one of them. He said to kill everyone, including mother, baby, child, everybody, even the animals. Do you understand what type of God you're talking about? He said he will deliver his people. He will deliver his people. And he said he will return for them. As soon as they find him, he will return for them and destroy their enemy. That's his words. I will gather Israel and destroy their enemies. Do you get what I'm saying to you? So whenever the Most High comes back to gather the people that are scattered among the nation, when he do that, whoever hands he found Israel in is going to be destroyed. So you can dream this dream about, for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes shall not perish. Listen, the Bible explained to us, and I've explained this in the previous video. I shall raise up a horn in David to save his people. Who was that? When he said to the Messiah that you shall follow the order, become a priest after the order of Melchizedek. What were they talking about? The only group of people that had a priest, right, was Israel. The only group of people that had prophets was Israel. Every other religion is mimicking off of Israel. And for the fact that Israel fall from grace, every other nation begin to take into whatever the information that they have gotten from these people and thinking that they're truly God's people and they're living up to God's expectation and they're serving. They're not doing it. Look around, my brothers and sisters. They're not. They are not serving the Most High, the Creator. Do you know it was only Israel who can call upon the Most High and he will listen to them? He will come and deliver them from whatever tribulation they're in. The Most High even go to the length of telling Samson's mother, listen, you're going to have a son, name him Samson, he's going to deliver you from your cap. He sends someone from birth. Do you understand this? Just try to wrap your mind around that for a second. The Most High, the Creator of all things, right? He told them, he said, listen, I'm going to send a child, and this child is going to grow up, and when it reach adulthood, remember, we don't know how old Samson was. Maybe Samson was 20, but just call it 20 years, right? We're talking about 20 years from a baby to probably 20 years, right? Give it 20 years, probably more than that. That this person was born for a specific reason, right? To defend Israel. What happened in Jericho when they marched around the wall and the wall fall down? Listen, man, these people, the Israelites, they have a connection with the Creator. And the reason why you haven't seen any miracle in the earth today is because they are not in power. They lost their identity. That's why you haven't seen any of these things. And all the enemies around that are ruling today, they know whenever these people realize themselves that everything is over for them. So they try to keep them in the dark, giving them religions. The Israelites are not religious people, right? They are spiritual people who connect with their God spiritually. They're not religious. They're not church-going people, as what church is a modern term, not an ancient term. The temple was not a place for worship and going to church every Sunday or Saturday or Monday. No, Christians came up with that idea. This has nothing to do with the Hebrew Israelites. These are a group of people who are trying to practice their religious, whatever they're practicing, using information that came from the Hebrew Israelites. That's all they're doing. Yes, my brother, we have to know him and love him with all our mind, our heart, and soul. This is the only way we're going to go back. You want to know why our people are facing what they're facing today? Have you read? And I'm saying to you guys here, my brothers and sisters here, that in Revelation, well, not Revelation, in Deuteronomy 28 through 68, I would advise you that you read the scripture to understand. It's going to tell you, this is a prophecy about the blessing and the curse. And when you read it, you can tell me for yourself, right? The Bible said, you'll be called a byword. You'll be an astonishment to all nations. I want you to pay attention and look around and tell me who is an astonishment to all the nations around. Who's been called a byword, right? I want you guys to look that up, right? The Bible said, you'll go into Egypt again with ships. Where I spake unto you, you'll see it no more. That means you won't see your home anymore. It said you'll go with ships this time. Now, remember Egypt to where Israel is, right? You don't need a ship to go to Egypt, right? You understand what I'm saying? So, Egypt would be synonymous with bondage because that's where the first bondage was. And he said there, when you go to this place now, that you shall be sold for bondmen and bondwomen, means slave girl and slave man. Was there action? Was there any time in history that you know that there was an action that people were sold as slaves? He said, you shall die, right? And be food for the beast of the field. Do any of you know that? Do any of you can you relate to any of those things? I'm telling you what happened, right? Can anybody relate to any of that? He said, you shall have no might in thy hands towards thy enemy. Can you say that? Can you tell me a group of people that don't have an army, that cannot stand up against America or any other country with any form of military might, has no weapon of mass destruction, has nothing? Tell me. You shall have no might in your hands towards your enemies. He said, you shall strike your woman head, so baldness can be upon them. Do you know a group of people that have problem with their hair? Problem with their hair growing, just falling out, they don't know why? Do you guys know that? The people, the Israelites, are right here. Right here. Everybody ignore, nobody wants to see, but the prophecy is there. And in the end, everybody is going to realize what the prophecy, but in that time, and during that time, and such time to come, they will not have the chance to redeem themselves, because it will be too late in that day and moment and time for them. But they will know of the prophecy, because they now will relate and understand, okay, this is what the book was saying all along. The people are right here. They haven't gone anywhere. The book said, I know thy works, thy tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. Blaspheme to those who say that they're Jews and are not. And I'm sure it's not Jews were used there, English term, right? But are the synagogue of Satan. So there are people who continually spending money to keep you where you at. to make sure you don't recognize yourself, because it doesn't profit them for you to know who you are. Do you understand me, brothers and sisters out there? Wake up. You know, we talk about, and we all, I don't want to say we, but there are many people that have this commitment to the church, and they want to go every Sunday and believe that there's salvation there. There is none there. I tell you this day, right here in the presence of the Most High, and all you people that are here within this church, there is no salvation in the church, not one. You understand me? There is none there, nothing inside that church that you're going to seek and find anything there. Do you understand me? First of all, they're dealing with symbolism that the Most High don't deal with. Every church you go, there is a cross there. Where did the cross come from? Where did it come from? Wasn't it something that the Romans used to kill and execute people? How did it become so sacred? How did it become sacred? That was it the very cross that the Messiah was crucified on? Oh, wait a minute. Did it talk about a cross, or did it say they were hung, that he was hung on a tree? What really happened? How everybody carrying a cross and think, oh my God, this is going to protect me. They even make movies about vampires and cross and this. Listen, these are paganistic symbols. It has nothing to do with the Creator himself. It has nothing to do with Israel. The Bible clearly states that you shall go into Egypt again. He said, there you shall serve other gods, right? See, a nation shall come against you as swift as the wind, as swift as the eagle flieth, right? And they shall have no love for neither the young or the old. Have you seen that? Anybody, please tell me. Have you seen any people that face the same tragedy, the same atrocities, that there's a people who don't have love for neither the young or the old? The book said, there you shall go and serve other gods of wood and stone. Can anybody tell me, where is the God of wood and stone? What does that mean? I spoke about this probably a few weeks ago. Where is the God of wood and stone? Think about it, my people. There's two religions that these people embodied more than anything else: Christianity and Islam. Is there a stone in Islam that's called the Kaaba in Mecca, where they go around every now and then and they marched around it and march around the stone? Is there a cross that is made of wood that everybody has in their possession and believe it's very holy? Is there one there? So when the Bible speaks about you, there you'll serve God of wood and stone. There you'll serve God of wood and stone. There you will serve God of wood and stone. What was it talking about? Yeah? Why did God find it necessary to take his people out of Egypt and reveal his law? Well, you know, a very good question. Remember how they went into Egypt. So the Most High must have has his plans, and I'm sure there are much more story or much more evidence relating around this. But the Most High, according to the scriptures and how everything executed. Now the Most High, first you had the Israelite went into Egypt, right? So it was Jacob and him 12 sons, right? And they went into Egypt. And this is where Joseph was you know, tossed in a hole. I'm paraphrasing, right? In a hole or a trap they set, and they threw him in there, and you know, and they called the brothers. The other brother was jealous of him. You know, Joseph and you know. So anyways, they end up in Egypt. They took Joseph out of the world. Somebody happened to pass and they sold him into Egypt as a slave. But there, you know, while he was in Egypt, he become, you know, he interpreted a dream. He become friends a good friend with the Pharaoh there at the time. So they lived there, and then the famine was coming, and he interpreted the dream, and then the rest of the land began to famine. So this is how the other group brother ended up coming into Egypt while Joseph was there. And they came to buy grains because famine was taking the land. So they had to go to Egypt. So Joseph kind of, plant, get all of the grains and everything, prepare up food, plant up food for the time when the before the famine gonna be. So this is how they was there. Now, while they were there, he was friends with the Pharaoh. He was governor of Egypt. He was in a high position. He could have took, was taking care of his family, brothers, until they stayed there and they populate the area. They begin to have kids and family build up. But then the Pharaoh died that, Joseph was, familiar with. And then the other Pharaoh now decided to treat them, bad. He said, wait a minute. These people are multiplying because these people always kept to themselves, right? They had their own culture, their own customs. So they do things different. They never assimilate with the Egyptians. So the Egyptians know who they were, right? That they were different and they stayed to their side, right? Just like you'd have Chinatown here in America and the Chinese stay in a Chinatown, right? No. After they lived there, now the new Pharaoh began to question the population like they're growing too fast. And then he started to think within his mind that if there's a new enemy come to attack Egypt, that these people, that these group of people that is living there, that's populated, they're going to take side with the other group, right? And this is how, right, he decided to increase their labor now. They were working, they were doing things there because it's a new Pharaoh now, so everybody probably have job. They were builders, they were doing things. So increase their labor, right? This is how it started. Increase their labor, start telling them they had to get straw to make bricks. Then you're telling them, okay, they have to go find something else. It's exaggerating the whole thing, but you guys can read it for yourself. Now, this is when the Israelite begin to cry out because, their captivity now, that becomes a captivity for them now when they've been oppressed, and put taskmaster over them to make sure and force them to do work, right? And when they force them to do work, this is where everything begin to spiral out of control, right? And then then once the taskmaster and the children of Israel start to cry out, the Most High heard their cry. And this is when he started to say, well, okay, now it's time for me to get my people out of there. So he said, let my people go. Told Pharaoh. Pharaoh wouldn't listen. But then when Pharaoh did listen after the miracles, right, then that's what happened later on. He said, okay, you Pharaoh, listen now. Now it's time to kind of get, them out of there. But then he hardened Pharaoh's heart. And the story go. And so that Pharaoh wouldn't let them go, right? And they end up doing what? Staying there still until when Pharaoh changed his mind and changed back his mind. But the Most High was playing with him because he wanted to exhibit his power to his people for the first time. They would see the power of the Most High. They would see and know how much he have loved them. And this was his purpose for doing that in Egypt. Yeah, right in Egypt, my brothers and sisters. But it's a rough night, and the time is actually up. We have another program which you could go on, but there are a lot of things we're going to talk about. There's a question, my last question: as a child of God, how do you deal with the mood swings, feeling discouraged, and just stay quiet? That's another topic, and we're definitely going to talk about that. So I think we're going to do a part 2 of this particular segment here. So I hope you guys, because the time is running, and we have ATO the program to start. So we're going to have a part 2. Is the Bible complete Word of God? And we're going to talk about this in a part 2. So, and we're going to start off with with Egypt again. And I go through the other question, as a child of God, do you deal with mood swings? And we're going to get into that next time. So I hope you guys enjoy the program here on The Naked Truth. We really appreciate you guys staying with us. ATO is coming up next. And brothers and sisters, everybody out there, do remember, man, go to your Bible and read Deuteronomy 28, through 68 and try to get a context of what the blessing and the curse is. And you'll see if you fit any of that, you can judge for yourself. And please have some questions for me in the comments next time. Thank you so much to everyone. Thanks a lot, Griff. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to see you guys here next Friday. And I hope we can finish talking about this. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys as well. So we're going to do a part 2 of this. Is the Bible the complete word of God? We'll have part 2 next Friday. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for ATO. It's coming up next on this platform. So I hope you guys can stay tuned for that. And may the Most High bless you guys and you're going out and you're going, man. I'm looking forward to have that moment to finish this conversation with you guys. So I'm looking forward to that. So please stay safe. And we're here. Thank you. God bless you all too. And we will be here bringing you some entertainment. So make sure you guys stick around for ATO. And we'll see you in a little bit. Thank you guys so much. And do remember for next week, part 2 of this particular program we're going to be doing. So stay tuned for that. And don't go nowhere. Stay tuned. We'll see you guys. Thank you so much again. God bless you all. One love to everyone. Until such time again. Stay tuned for ATO coming up next. Much love to everyone. Blessings, blessings, and blessings to you all.